The Marlins lost their arbitration cases for Arise, who they just traded for, and Jesus Luzardo. The Marlins also just traded for Jesus Luzardo's former roommate, Puck. AJ Puck. They were gonna be the lightning rod that sparked the A's, and they were the top two guys. And now they're both Marlins. And the Marlins traded JJ Bleday, who does have J's in his name, but maybe it was too many J's because they're getting AJ back. So it might be just like a 1J only situation, which I understand and respect. I am worried, though, that they're losing their way.
They still have John Jay there as the first base coach. So
I'm worried about him.
Only two J's, only enough room for a guy with two. I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, this trade's interesting. I mean, Luzardo's like, hey, can you go get my dude Puck? He's kind of just stuck in Oakland.
Former roommates. And
then the A's and Marlins were like, yeah, cool. We don't care.
I don't like to talk about myself ever, but when I was in camp with the A's in 2017, these guys were the next generation. You know, also with Chappie and Olsen there, but these two guys, I mean, that's all you ever heard about was Jesus and AJ Puck, and you couldn't really miss Puck walk around the clubhouse. He had this long hair, he's super tall, as you guys know now. But back then, he was definitely a sight, and my first thought when I saw him was like, fuck, I would never want to face this guy. I feel like I still think that way. And, you know, he's had some success, man, especially last year.
It was good. 62 games, a 3.12 ERA, more strikeouts than innings pitched. You're right, he's a gross lefty on the mound. A little bit of a double entendre, depending how he's tightening it up that week. Yeah, for me, this is two things. The Marlins brought in Luzardo when, you know, they kind of punted on him, and it looked like he might be broken, and you hit that prospect like, uh-oh. And then Luzardo turned in a great year for them last year, and now he's slotted into their 3 spot in the rotation. You know, he had a 3.32 ERA last year for the Fish. So, I don't know. They clearly think they can probably tap into Puck more. I'd have to guess Puck's days as a starter with his injury history are done, but if they think they can tap into him more as a reliever, he can be a ninth inning, eighth inning type guy. But I think the bigger side of this, JJ Bleday, who I mentioned him briefly, we did their team profile and projection, and that's coming out soon. This guy was a big-time draft pick, and he got a cup of coffee last year, and it wasn't pretty. And if you're trading, you know, I think, was he the 3 pick in the draft or top 5 pick in the draft?
Bleday, I think, was the 4th overall pick.
If you're trading that guy away for a player that now looks like they're probably a reliever, even, you know, potentially a high-level reliever, that means they were kind of out on JJ Bleday. So that he's going to Oakland, and maybe he'll get a ton of reps, and that's can be what figures it out. But a potential everyday starting outfielder that's a top 4 pick for a relief pitcher, it means the Marlins were out on JJ Bleday.
Or Oakland really came calling because they can stash him at AAA and delay his service time. Also, 6 years of control. The number there is not going to be good. When you have Puck, who was, I think, getting close to higher arbitration because he was almost a Super 2 situation. So the A's just being as cheap as you could possibly get if this is a move they're reaching out for. Also, you got Jazz Chisholm, future Gold Glover, in center field now.
Right.
And outfield for Miami, so you don't need that. I wonder if Puck's excited that the A's had said he was going to fight for a starting pitcher spot as a lefty, and there's no way he's the third one of 3 lefties in the bullpen for Miami. Talk about arbitration potential, getting a hit, you know, getting the start and being young and all that. If he was able to start with the A's and put up some numbers versus one of 3 lefties for Miami. I wonder if he's excited to get out of Oakland and go with Miami, or the opportunity and the position kind of stinks now for him in from what he was told he was going to do.
I mean, I guess we'll see how it shakes out there, but definitely I think you hit it. You probably kind of stoked to get out of Oakland, number one. But then you do realize, yeah, like if I was in line to get starts in Oakland, can I get that same opportunity in Miami? We know Miami's pitching depth, their starting pitching depth is there, but this guy is different, and if they decide to give him a look as a starter, I wouldn't be surprised. Or you just put him in some high leverage spots and you can earn a nice chunk of change doing that. If you're racking up some saves or games finished, it's also a way to boost your arbitration. But you're right, James. I mean, as a starter, that's kind of what you want. That's where the money is, and that's where all these guys want to be. If I was AJ Puck, I'd be stoked that I'm out of Oakland. And I'm with a team that's not necessarily like in their highest competition window, but maybe trying to head towards that. But just getting out of Oakland in that situation's got to be a relief. And then JJ Bleday is like, shit.
Yeah. Jake does have a good point, though. To trade that guy.
Because what do the Marlins always need? We talk about it anytime we talk about the Marlins. They need hitting. So to trade that guy for a reliever, which you guys mentioned AJ Puck, and hey, maybe they tap into him the same way with Luzardo. Maybe he goes and starts. Go show the world, kid. I think he's lined up for a lockdown type reliever, but like a special get paid reliever if he does it right. Puck has started 8 games at any level since 2018. So I think at some point you kind of have to look in the mirror and be like, hey, I could be a dominant, like Andrew Miller, like funky 6'7" lefty. And those guys get paid, man. So if I do that for a couple years right, I don't think it's the same equation it used to be with starters and relievers. You'd still love that starters money. We just talked about.
Well, when
it
it comes to arbitration, it is.
But man, I think, yeah.
And do you feel bad because Bleday's a fellow Vandy guy?
I mean, go Doors, and it's gonna click. And Tony.
You have some inside info now that he's a Vandy boy about JJ Bleday and like maybe his makeup or something, because you're making a good point there on the Marlins side.
Hey, I think the Marlins punted a little early. I think he got his cup of coffee last year. It wasn't pretty in a small sample size, 65 games.
Who takes his reps now for the Marlins? De La Cruz?
Yeah, I mean, Bleday wasn't necessarily penciled in, but they have De La Cruz there. Jesus Sanchez, who got a couple shout-outs last year on Talkin Baseball, is floating around. So I don't know. It feels like all these with the Marlins, there's these bodies that we've mentioned for a couple years now, and they're looking for something to click, and maybe they know something we don't. But I don't know. Marlins and A's.
Interesting. AJ Puck's one of those guys, with his body type, 6'7", lefty. Bro, throw strikes and throw over 90 miles an hour, and you're going to have a job for the next 10 years. That's how it works. That's how this game works. I don't know if I've ever told this story on Talking Baseball. I think I might have. Glenn Perkins, failed starter in the big leagues, wasn't really working out. Gets optioned down to AAA with me 2009 or something. I don't know. He got to the big leagues very quickly and then kind of was like in a state of transition, didn't know what was going on. I was in the car with him as he's in AAA, and his wife is like, what are we going to do? Like, basically, like, is your career over? You just got sent down, blah, blah, blah. And Glenn, stone-faced, said, I'm a left-handed pitcher that throws over 90. We're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And then sure enough, like 3 or 4 all-star appearances later, he's doing all right. So AJ Puck, man, you got a lot of baseball left in you for sure.
I don't want to jump on a segue here.
Don't do it.
The bike or otherwise, because it's going to circumvent the Dodgers for a second. But Andrew Chafin, 65%, 93-mile-per-hour fastballs, and the other 33% is sliders, and he just got another $6.5 milli for my Snakes to keep doing it. Like, and Puck has more than that in the chamber currently. So yeah, go do that.
Be a lefty that throws over 90, guys. It's easy.
I was looking at Bleday versus older pitchers, the minors. Apparently, Trev, that's a stat scouts really like in the minor
Okay.
leagues. How do you perform about guys that are older than you? Because I keep hearing people talk about this, about these young kids. Like, he's the youngest one in the league and he's hitting, blah, blah, blah. I checked out your numbers. You were great against older pitchers, Trev.
Whoops.
Dude, yeah, give me all the old guys, 100%.
Well, I think it's like when you're
Why do they like that?
Because, like,
You're coming up.
coming up the ranks faster than them and still dominating them. JJ Bleday, opposite. He's not good against the older guys.
Maybe
Trev, you
effective?
sucked against younger pitchers in 2010 in the minors. Just
didn't
letting you know.
care.
Those guys couldn't throw a strike, though.
How old were you in
Yeah, that's
2010?
24, 23 to start the year.
So those guys were young. You only had 20.
Yeah, I mean-
you only had 69 at plate appearances.
For me, I wanted guys that were around the plate. And the older guys definitely are around the plate more. That's what they tell you. I mean, when you're in AAA, this is a phrase that they'll use a lot. Like, this guy's going to be better in the big leagues. I'm like, why? Big leagues is hard. Well, they throw more strikes in the big leagues. So if you're a guy that struggles with a little bit of plate discipline issues, you get to the big leagues, they're going to kind of like just hammer you with fastballs and see what you can do. So a lot of guys have more success that way. And then they start understanding they can expand the zone on you and stuff. But that's why I like the older pitchers, because they were around the zone more.
Makes sense.
Go Chafin.
Good for Chafin.
Easiest league to hit in.
Their lighting's better. And all the other stuff that he
Balls.
says.
Oh, although they use big league balls in AAA now, that's nice.
It is nice. Replay
Dude,
system.
Chafin, nice seven career WAR. Okay.
Snakes, baby. Let's go.
Second go around over there.
Oh no, we're down 2-1 in the 5th inning. Here comes Melanson. Here comes Mantiply. Here comes Ginkle. Here comes Chafin.
Don't say Ginkle on the show ever again.
Good game.
Longo,
Good
homer,
effort.
walk off.
Oh, extend the lead. I had them up. That's why they were using their good pen.
Oh, okay. I thought you said down 2-1.
Longo still walked it off though.
Oh, okay.
Sounds pretty dope. We play for rings in the desert. If somehow the Snakes aren't in it come the trade deadline, Mantiply, Chafin, Melanson, Kevin, G, Miguel Castro ended up there.
Interesting.
How about that?
Speaking of Snakes,
Snakes,
Coach Trev's Snakes defeated James Loney's Cubs in our
Yeah.
first game of the West Hills Little League.
I mean, can we hire a beat reporter to be on this? You and Loney competing?
I got some, I'm going to dish out some dirt. Loney was late. I was there 8
Oh my
a.m. with my
God.
kids in the batting cage.
Don't
Loney
do,
strolled
don't
up
do that. to
about
Loney.
8:45.
Don't do it. That's his style.
Assistant coaches were there. He said, yeah, I delegate.
Oh, see? See?
Not me. I micromanage, baby.
Can we have
Sick of your style.
maybe your sweet Isla cover the game for us and report for us next week? I would love to hear her 3-day late report from the game.
She was there. We have a girl on our team. Shout out Presley. She roped one off of me for like a double down the line during coach pitch. And I love it because now Isla's watching her and saying, I want to play. So it's cool.
Okay.
That is cool.